Hi guys, I'm Mr. Murder, and today we're diving into the darkest corners of Los Angeles to uncover its top 10 most dangerous serial killers. These are the monsters that terrorize the city, leaving behind trails of blood and fear. Some of their crimes remain burned in history as some of the most brutal acts ever committed. Who were these killers? How did they get caught? And what drove them to commit such horrific murders? Stay with me till the end, because you won't believe the chilling details I'm about to reveal. In the video, there will be two parts. In the first part of the video, there will be the first 5 killers, and in the second part, the second half of the killers. Here are the top 5 most dangerous killers in LA. Richard Ramirez, Night Hunter. Charles Munson, William Bonin, Lonnie Franklin Jr., Chester Turner. Okay, let's start with the first killer. Richard Ramirez, Night Hunter. Date of birth, February 29, 1960. Place of birth, El Paso, Texas. Number of victims, 14 confirmed. Richard Ramirez, known as the Night Hunter, grew up in a dysfunctional family. His childhood was filled with violence, and his older cousin, a former soldier, told him stories of torture and murder in Vietnam. It was under his influence that Ramirez began to develop a penchant for violence. By the age of 22, he was already using drugs and robbing houses, and soon moved on to serial killing. I'll tell you about 2 of his high-profile victims. Jenny Vincenzo, 79 years old. Murder weapon, a knife. The murder occurred as follows. After entering the elderly woman's home through a window, Ramirez stabbed her several times. He then drew satanic symbols on the walls with her blood. Evidence at the scene: bloody Reebok shoe impressions, fingerprints on the window. Killer's mistakes: left shoe impressions at the crime scene that are unique to that model. How caught? Shoe prints match those at the other crime scenes. Killer's comment: I am darkness incarnate. Witness comment: she was a good woman. No one deserves to die like that. Mary Louise Cannon is 75 years old. Murder weapon, a hammer. How the murder occurred: Ramirez entered Cannon's home through the back door, struck her in the head with a hammer, then strangled her with a telephone cord. Evidence: shoe impressions, DNA under the victim's fingernails. Used the same burglary method, which allowed police to link the crimes. How caught? One of the surviving victims was able to describe his appearance. Killer's comment: I feel no remorse. Relatives comment: she couldn't defend herself. It's inhumane. Ramirez was caught on August 31, 1985, trying to steal a car. Angry neighborhood residents beat him and held him until police arrived. He was sentenced to death in 1989 for 13 murders, 5 attempted murders, 11 rapes, and 14 burglaries. Prison, San Quentin, California. Condemnation: serial murder, rape, robbery. Date and cause of death: June 7, 2013. Liver cancer. Charles Munson. Date of birth: November 12, 1934. Place of birth: Cincinnati, Ohio. Number of victims: 7, confirmed through his followers. Charles Munson was the leader of the family sect, which preached the end of the world and race war. He grew up in a criminal environment and from an early age was imprisoned for petty crimes. In the late 1960s, Munson gathered a group of young followers around him, indoctrinating them with ideas about chaos and the superiority of certain races. Under his influence, the family committed brutal murders in Los Angeles. Sharon Tate, 26. Murder weapon, a knife. How the murder happened. On the night of August 9, 1969, a group of Munson's followers broke into the home of Tate, who was 9 months pregnant. They stabbed her 16 times, writing "pig" in her blood on the walls. Evidence: bloody writing, shoe marks, bloody knives. Killer's mistakes: leaving too much evidence, blood on clothing. How cult, one of the family members blabbed in prison. Killer's comment: she had to die for a higher purpose. Witnesses comment: it was senseless cruelty. Charles Munson and his followers were arrested in December 1969. He was sentenced to death in 1971, but the sentence was later commuted to life imprisonment, Corcoran, California. Charges: mass murder, conspiracy, date and cause of death: November 19, 2017, natural causes. Date of birth: January 8, 1947. Place of birth: Willimantic, Connecticut. Number of victims: 21 confirmed. William Bonin, known as the Los Angeles Torturer, grew up in a dysfunctional family where he was often abused. He was aggressive in his youth and engaged in rape and violent crimes from his teenage years. His killings began in the late 1970s, when he began kidnapping young men, raping them, and killing them. Bonin acted quickly and violently, making his murders difficult to investigate. He eventually became one of Los Angeles's most notorious serial killers. Harry Perez, 19 years old. Murder weapon: strangulation, blows to the head. How the murder occurred: Bonin kidnapped Perez, tied him up and strangled him, then left his body near a vacant lot. Evidence: victim's hair, shoe impressions at the scene, fingerprints on the injuries. Killer's mistakes: used the same method of killing for each victim, resulting in an identification. How? Caught. After days of searching and comparing evidence, police began linking all the murders, which eventually led to his arrest. Killer's comment: I killed for pleasure, I felt alive. Witness comment: he was the strangest person I've ever seen. The whole thing was unforgivable. Timothy Martin, 18 years old. Murder weapon: strangulation. How the murder occurred: Martin was kidnapped and brought to an empty lot where Bonin tied him up and strangled him with a rope. Evidence: written notes found in his car. Evidence on the victim's clothing. Killer's mistakes: missed several traces, including a piece of clothing at the murder scene. How caught? In finally linking the evidence to this murder, police got specific statements from his closest victims. The killer's comment, "Every murder has left me exhilarated." Witness comment, "He was like the devil, there was nothing human about his actions." Bonin was arrested in 1980 when police discovered a link between the murders and his personal life. He was sentenced to death for 21 murders. Prison, San Quentin, California. Charges: murder, rape. Date and cause of death: February 23, 1996. Natural causes: heart attack. This was the story of the first 3 killers whose names became synonymous with horror. They lurked in the darkness, choosing victims randomly or deliberately, wreaking havoc and fear. They thought they'd never be caught. But that's only the first part of the story. You think we've covered the worst of it? No. LL remembers other monsters, killers whose crimes were even more ruthless, killers who acted in the certainty that justice would not be served. How did they hide? What mistakes led to their downfall? What did investigators find in their homes when the doors were finally kicked in by SWAT teams? We're going to reveal all of it. The next installment is coming up.